and gentlemen kindly chime in. Okay, so the Maimon begins with the Shaila. The Medrash says, Kedoshim Tiyehu ki Kodesh Omen. So the Medrash says, Yachol Kamayni, you might think that we can be as Kodesh as the Eibishter. No, ki Kodesh Omen. Kedoshasi l'maylim mikdushasi. My Kedush is hiding yours. So the first Shaila is, how could there be such a Havamina? L'chayr, the Havamina isn't the pasuk itself, because the pasuk it says, why should you be Kedoshim ki Kodesh Omen? The pasuk itself gives the Havamina that Rabbi goes on to say. And the Hasbara is because it's all Kuchibichu Kulachad, so therefore it is Shayach. So if it is Shayach, so what now we have to understand the other way, the Maskana, that no, Kedushasi, Lamanim Kedushasi. So how does that fit with Ki Kodesh? You should be Kedoshim to you because I am, which implies an equivalence. And then concludes the Medrash that no, my Kedush is higher. So to unravel the mystery here, first we quote from the Torah. Look at the Torah says that what's the meaning of Kedusha? What are the two daggers of Kedushachem and Kedushasi? So Kedushachem is that which is Nimshech throughout Israel, the Tate Ma'isa Mitzvahs. And Kedushasi, which is higher, is a darge where Ein Israel the Tate Magas L'Shom. And that's Tshuva. So says the Alter Rebbe. Ask the Rebbe, but wait a second. Tshuva is also Avedis Amata. So why is that called Kedusha Si higher than your Kedusha? And how does the Alter Rebbe say that this is an Aveda which in Yisrael Salatata Magas Tashem? All right, so these are the shyness of the first ois. Then he brings another medrash, related medrash. And this medrash comes by Hemshech, the medrash before that. The pasuk says in Kisovah, the Eibishter says, if you keep to the mitzvah, so you'll be Maila. Same Havamina. Yochel Kamayni? No. Gdolosli, now Gdula, not Kedusha, is the Maila Migdolaschem. So now putting down Tebes beer now on Kedusha before. What did we say before? We said that the Madregi of Kedusha Si is also accessible. Never then. Not what? It's a higher Aved, is the Aved of Tshuva. So the same thing is also here too. True also of the two dargis in Gedula Si, the higher one, and Gedula Schem. That even Gedula Si, Yidden can be Mamshech. That needs a higher Aved. That's one observation. Lahisif, we have to also put onto the table to understand everything. And there is a general cloud, the Kedusha is higher than Gedula. Gedula, he says, is beligvul, it's higher than midas hachesed, fine, but still is pashtus, Gedula, beligvul, and Kedusha is etzem. Kedusha removed higher than his pashtus and gilu. So now concluding, the avoid of Gedula Si, which is the high avoid of Gedula Schem, this is all in avodas tzadikim. But what? In avodas tzadikim, it's a avoid analysis yoyse. As for where is Tshuva required, Tshuva is for to be Mamshech Kedusha Si. So far, so good. Everybody's with me? Yeah? So now we explain in this Gimel, what is the two dargas, l'chura, this is what comes out here, the two dargas in Gedula Schem, Gedula Si. And what is that? He brings the pasuk of it, V'yosfu anovim b'avaya simcha, v'avyoni odom, B'kadosh Yisrael Yogilo, Pasha the Pshat, simple meaning. The humble ones will increase in their joy with God, and the poor of man will rejoice in the Holy One of Israel. That's Pasha the Pshat. The Alter Rebbe's beer is that the Yosef Anovim Ba'avai Simcha, that the Yidden at Tzadikim, first half of the pasuk, are Moisif in Shem Havaya, the Inyan of Simcha. And how they Moisif it? Through the Avodah of Anovim Bittel. So that seems to be the Gedula Si, that's the higher Avodah. Stam Avodah of Tzadikim is without this level of Anovim Bittel. That's Gedula Schem. Gedula Si, this is Moisif in Shem Havaya. Yeah? And through that, the mamshech, this gilu lamata. So this is Alter Rebbe. Alter Rebbe is mamshech. Second half of the pasuk, v'avyoni odom, poor of man, bali tshuva, and he explains why, because Adam goes into the mitzvahs, and avyoni odom means he lacks in it. So avyoni odom, it did not be Moishe from Shem Havaya. They b'kadosh Yisrael yogilu. Kodesh, here's our word, Kodesh. So kedusha, they connect to the kedusha l'mayla m'Shem Havaya. Yeah. So the stam gedula, that's Havaya stam. Gedula see, that's what tzaddikim amoise through the avodah of anovim bittul. So the Yosef b'avayosh nimshechas b'yagdul derin sof shelemayli mishaychas lo'ilam. The gedula see. That's all of it. It's a tzaddikim anovim. The inyan of yoni odom b'kedosh yisol yagilu. This is kedusha see. Now to understand this whole avodah, what are we left with? We just left with geography. We're left with these two dargis in avodah tzaddikim, Gdula Schem, Gdula Si. Gdula Si is Moishe from Shem Havaya. Gdula Schem is Stam Shem Havaya. Then there's Kedusha Schem, which is not clear what that is yet. That remains open. But the Kedusha Si is the avodah of Bali Tshuva, Kedusha, like reaching the Etzem, moved all separate. Clear? Yeah? Yeah? Yeah, said we're good? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So to understand this, is Daled. So first you better be marketing the pasuk. There's a lot of pieces to this. Okay, the pasuk is miyitnecha or miyitencha ka'achli. Were to be, who would give? You would be a brother to me. This is Yidden speaking to the Eivishter. Yonik mishdei imi, who stackled together with me, brothers, from the breasts of my mother. And then he goes on to say, I will search for you outside, you will not despise me. Second half of the pasuk. So, Kama Pirush. First there's Pirush Rashi. So Rashi says, what does it mean that we're asking the Eibishter to be like a brother? We're saying, please be like a brother, like Yosef to his brothers. The brothers did him no good, and he bestowed goodness. And he comforted them. That's Rashi. Medrash, no, not Yosef and the brothers, but Yosef and Binyamin. Tzemach Tzedek's beer now. What's the reason that we ask Eibishter? Medrash now. For Yosef Binyamin, not Yosef and the brothers, we'd rather have the brothers, because the brothers dealt wrongly, and still Yosef was kind to them. So we did the same thing with us, the Eibishter. We should invoke that model. Why are we invoking the model of, says that Tzemach Tzedek in the Medrash, not Rashi? Why are we invoking the model of Yosef Binyamin Dafka? He says, because Yosef first pained his brothers in order that they should be atoned for the chet of selling him. Only then did he bestow good. And we're asking, do not punish us. Therefore, we ask the Eibush to be to us like Yosef and Binyamin. That's Tzemach Tzedek's beer. The Rebbe's Shaila. But we're missing something. We're missing again that we behave inappropriately, and that's missing in the equation. Binyamin was a tzaddik. So it's very nice to invoke Binyamin, but he doesn't represent us. He's not our dogma. Our dogma is the brothers. So that's the Rebbe Shaila on the Tzemach Tzedek. Yeah? Moving on now to Ois. Middle of Ois down, next page. Yeah? But it was with me. Yeah? Guys, yeah? Okay. It would be, I'm just thinking, nice to make, I've done this some years ago, but a graph, not just a graph of how things match up, subdivide, break down, and then tie together. It would be a good thing to do it was visually to get it clear, all the moving pieces. Anyway. Now, L'Kutei Torah, now bringing out L'Kutei Torah on this pasuk, which we haven't done before. The Alter Rebbe on the pasuk miyitencha ka'achli. So the Alter Rebbe divides the pasuk. The Alter Rebbe divides the pasuk. And he says that the first part of the pasuk, and I'll find you outside, that's Bali Tshuva. Now, what's the question? If the Alter Rebbe is explaining miten ka'achli is tzadikim, then obviously he's not Rashi but the Medrash, Yosef and Binyamin. Because according to Rashi, we're talking Yosef and the brothers, which means even the first part of the pasuk is Bali Tshuva. So what's the problem? Good. The problem is that Tzemach Tzedek. That Tzemach Tzedek explained the Medrash. That Tzemach Tzedek said they were asking Yosef, Binyamin, not Yosef brothers, because we're asking that they should wipe off our Vedas with not Yisurim. So it's the Bali Tshuva talking. So it comes out that according to the Medrash, it's also talking Bali Tshuva. We want to have the best of both worlds. We sinned, but don't punish us. So we have a contradiction between the Alter Rebbe and the way that Tzemach Tzedek explains the Medrash. Because the Alter Rebbe says the first half of the pasuk, Ka'achli is Sadikim, clear. Only the second half is that's Bali Tshuva. That Tzemach Tzedek explains the Medrash for us. We don't want Yisurim. So who's asking that? The Bali Tshuva is asking that. So that's the problem now, is to accord the Pirush on this pasuk, Mitencha Ka'achli of the Alter Rebbe, and the way that Tzemach Tzedek explains the Medrash. Clear? That's the Shaila of the end of Beis Dalet. Is that clear? Yeah? Repeat it again or not?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Hey, Ramotcha, welcome. This is really straddling the world here, the time zones. Okay. Hey, now, yeah. So you say you do it, that what? That the kavanah, the mile of Yosef going down to Mitzrayim, was to be Mamar Nitzutzis, and thereby making the whole golus easier. So the Chitzoni is, it's a means from the end. Yosef goes down there in order to set into motion, a chain of events that leads to golus Mitzrayim. But the Penimi is, not that it leads to golus Mitzrayim, it actually preempts golus Mitzrayim. I didn't say this before. Preempts in the sense that it makes it easier. The Pashtos, golus Mitzrayim happens because of Yosef. The Penimi is, golus Mitzrayim is easier because of Yosef. We say because of Yosef, or we mean Hashem, moving the pieces. But not that it's a step towards golus Mitzrayim, it's actually alleviating it. And he explains why, because the Gzeira was 400 years, and because of Yosef, it was reduced to 210. That's because he's mevar all the nitzutzis. And moreover, the shibud, the difficult shibud, the slavery was only the last 86 years. Therefore, what? It's understood that the Shvatim sold Yosef to Mitzrayim. End of the day, that's not Hipach HaKavan, Adrabah. This is the Kavan Al Yoina. Yosef going down there is making the whole golus easier. It's a good, wonderful thing. But they didn't know, and therefore it's a chet for them. Note was very important to add. There's a noteworthy point, but it's parenthetical a bit. The second chapter of Ha'tshek. Now, this we just said, that the Shvatim, what they did was Fia Kavona, really accords also Lahoyer, even at the Pshat level. Because, as we just said, the Kavona of Yosef going down was it should be Golus Mitzrayim, which is what the Eibishter told Avraham. And the Gemara there, the Gemara in Sanhedrin, the Pasuk, Rashi brings it, that Yaakov sent Yosef me'emek Chevron. Chevron's a hill, it's high, not low. The Emek is one who's there buried in the depth, Avram. That the Eitz of Avram should be carried out, that there should be Avodim, etc. So it's also part of the Kavon El Yoni. What's the difference? It's all in parenthesis. Both are Kavona. So what are we saying, Penimi? What's the difference? And it's all good. The difference between all good is that Pshat level and Apachsidis is, I really said it already, according to this beer, Pshat, it's negative. Going down is golus. Golus is negative. Even though the kavon of golus will lead to Kabbalah Satayra, etc., but golus is negative. So Yosef being there sets in motion a negative thing which will lead to a positive thing. Like we said before, with the 2020 vision, having learned next Yosef, I was saying it already earlier, But according to the Pnimis Dikabir, that Yosef goes down there to make it, he's making the Golus easier. So this is an Inyan Rotzoi Begoloi. Was Begoloi a good thing? That's Apichsid is Begoloi a good thing. So what's the Chet? The Chet is that they didn't have that intent. And this explains a murder thing. Why did Yosef tell them, don't be upset, don't be angry that you sold me? It's a good thing to be upset. They got to be upset. Every Chet needs, even though every Chet is Apiyash Gochel Yoina and Piratzeni is Baruch again, Chelakei and the Meridike Biyurim over there, groundbreaking, revolutionary Biyurim, that all the Yerid is a Chelak of the Aliyah. It's all true. But nonetheless, there's Pechira Chavshis, which explains there also. So he chose to do a bad thing. So the person himself, he chose a bad thing. He has to bemoan and wail it. So why would Yosef take that away from them? The answer is because this is different in this case. Every other case is pointed now, the Yerida is bepnimis that will lead to an aliyah. But here, it's different. All the Chatoim is Hepach HaRotzen, and even the Tashgach El Yoina, so there's a Kavana, but the Kavana is not the Chet, the Kavana is the Tshuva that comes later. The Chet is Hepach HaRotzen. That's why you have to bemoan, Livkei Selukaina. That's a Loshen, Barambam, Yichas Tshuva. But here by Yosef, he's telling them, this is Begolu, you can see. You selling me, the Kavana is not just you should do Tshuva. That's the Kavana of every Chet. The Kavon is what you did. This is a good thing because and especially because as I said before, he's mevared in the tzutzis. And therefore, al ta'atzu. Nonetheless, he concludes, I say, even though it's all true, but for Yosef was a negative thing, you would think. Therefore, he says to them, you didn't send me, but the Eibishter made me av to paroi. That even for Yosef it was an aliyah. Then he adds in brackets, likewise in all in Yonim ben Adam l'chaved, like he explains in Tanya, that even though the fellow who did bad to me has to do tshuva, etc., but what happened to me is for my good. Mis Hashem ha'isazos. And it's for his good, because we're able to do this for good. That's for everything. But Bechiras Yosef, again, it's Begilui. Okay, this. Yeah, Oizvov. Oizvov? Yeah? Now, we started this already. This is a very avoididik, moididik here. We did Oizvov, and that is that everything in Torah is b'tachlis adiyuk, and therefore, the fact that we ask, Miten ka'achli kederach sh'asa Yosef le'echav, and even though they did something negative still, he did good to them, is because this is the model for every chet that a person does. It's similar to what the Shvatim did to Yosef. And now therefore the request is that even though through our actions we did the Eibishter, we are doing to the Eibishter like they did to Yosef, as we'll explain, nonetheless be Gemel Tov to us. What's the Inyan over here? The Inyan is that the Neshama comes down, he explains to you what the problem of the chet is, the real problem. Neshama comes down the mat and comes into the Shebahamis, it's a golus. And not only is a golus, it's in a captivity, and it's in prison of the Guf and Nefesh Bahamis. And the Kavan is that the Neshama should be mevada the Guf and Nefesh Bahamis in the whole world and make them a keli for the course. A and B, that the Neshama thereby goes higher than it was before they did it. So that means that every moment that a person doesn't do his Avodah, so the Neshama is in pain for nothing. It's in prison and there's no value to it. A person that is Avodah, so since his Avodah is being Mekayim the Kavan El Yoina, he is elevating the world and he himself is elevating his Neshama. So he has a tainuk that he's doing the Kavan El Yoina. And again repeats, bigger of the world and the elevation of the Neshama. This is a big tainuk. And it's worth all of these surim being in the guf. But those moments a person doesn't do his avodah, and especially if he does in yonim, built yitzuyim. So this is the neshama is in the golus and the guf, and the pain that it has, it's for naught and nothing. And since the neshama is a chelik alekah, he drags the Eibush into this. This is the golus and the tzar of the Shechina. So this is what he says now. This is the conclusion that the conduct God forbid is not the way it should be. That's an aveda, including even not doing an aveda, just not doing a shlichus. So what are we doing? We're doing to the Eibush what was done to what the Shvatim did to Yosef. Eved, and then in prison, and it's all for no gain. And then he adds, now the Indian, the Beneged, the Maisa, the Shvatim, what do they say? We're responsible, you pleaded to us. This is the quote there. You pleaded to us and we didn't listen. This is what he says here, that they didn't have Rachmanas and Yosef when he pleaded, this is even worse than the actual sale itself. So likewise in the Nimshal, that the Neshama and the Shechina are pleading with the Yid, take me out of Golus, and not listening to this cry is worse than the actual Aveda itself. That's more painful than the actual sin. That's what we're up to, yeah? I think so, yes? Now in the Pnim.
We went further.
Huh?
We went further, I think we
go further, okay.
We started.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Went to where?
We definitely started Oisches.
Okay, cool. Continue the summary. Okay. Yeah, I want to, okay, sure. Okay. Just to repeat these two in Yonim, he said over here, that in Teres Ptachlis Adiyah, we're asking the Yosef and brother model. First point is why? Because it's the whole story of Yosef, it's the honest story of Hashem coming to the Guf and in prison. And every moment that we're not doing the shlichus, it's terrible pain. Again, this is the orphan perspective of what the brothers did. The fact there's a deeper Inyan, it's not their Inyan. The end, they have to know that. So if a person is doing his avodah, it's a tainuk, notwithstanding the great pain that Neshama has to be imprisoned in the guf. But if he's not, and he's doing an avodah, or even if he's just not doing his shlichus, so it's just unnecessary pain for the Neshama and the Eibush, because the Eibush is the Neshama's part of him. And furthermore, the Shvatim says it's Hashem emanachnu. He pleaded and we ignored him, we didn't listen to him. So he says this they didn't have Rahmanas in him is a bigger shame, a bigger guilt, that's the word he uses, than the actual mechira. Likewise in the Nimshal, that a person ignores his neshama and the Eibush crying out, don't do it, is worse than the act itself. So this is what we're saying, like, this is the Medrash of Yosef and his brothers. No, that's Rashi. That's Rashi. There's Kami in Yonim here. Again, that's Rashi, for sure, yeah? Be clear. That is Rashi. Yeah. The Medrash has been Yonim. He's talking now, since Eis Vav, Rashi. Even before that. The whole brother thing started focusing on that Pirush in Eisei already. So continue now so what come in Yonim, just like Yosef sustained the brothers and the children and gave them also a portion in the best part of Mitzrayim, so too, even though we say to the Eibush to give us all that is good. Next point is Yosef had held no grudge. Not only B'Peil did he deal kindly, but in his heart he had no grudge. On the contrary, he tried to see to it that they should be nischaper, which is why there was an initial period of tzar. Then later on, he stopped it. They because they should see that there's the kavan elyon. Don't keep on doing tshuva. Was just enough a little bit, a little bit. This thing, a little bit, yes, but not the usual. You follow what I'm saying? He was Mitzayah them. But at the end he told him, why explained in the Maimah? Because Begolui, this is a good thing. So they had to have both. First a bit of the Tsar, and then to see that this is different than every other Chet. At any rate, so he has no, follow that point. So he has no grudge against them. So too, we're asking the Eibush to forgive our sins. The kapor of Yosef was he was Mitzayah them, and we're asking without Yisurim. That's Tzadok writes. He says, again, that same beer. The Eibush can be Moichel without Yisurim at all. The famous Yerushalmi, the sinner turns to Torah, turns to Nevi'im, and so on. No one can help him. And he asks the Eibush says, do tshuva v'yischapalei. The Eibush to hide and ishtalshalis, it can be. Yeah, one of the answers was death, one was Yisurim, one was a korban. But mitzat tshuva, hide and ishtalshalis, it can be kapara without Yisurim, and even without a korban. Another thing is all of Malish is pointing out, just like Yosef tried to stir them to tshuva, so too we're asking the Eibush to be ma'oyer as to tshuva without Yisurim. Another point, just like Yosef comforted his brothers and said, the Eibush sent me, and he was Megala the Kavanah Pnimius. Not only is not Hipecharotzen, it's a wonderful thing, the Golas became easier. So too we're asking the Eibush to don't just forgive us, but reveal to us the Kavanah Pnimius, the Chatoyim, which is tshuva, and ultimately transforming the tshuva into schusim. Okay, so we're learning in the ha'aras the moededike chidush of the Rebbe. This is true. Usually, that chatoim becoming schuy says el di tshuva yilo. That's what it says. Tshuva me'ava. The Rebbe made the point in the ha'aras from the Rambam that it's true of every level of tshuva. We did all the ha'aras. We did the line, the start at the bottom. Yeah, I think we did it. Yeah, we did the ha'aras and the star. It's something to learn over and over again. I mean, there is magia, such a thing, it becomes in the Maimer. It's a tremendous chiddush. The transformation of chatoyim can happen even the basic level of tshuva, not avarab. Chol hadarges in tshuva. We didn't do the second, look on the second two stars. But the Gemara says, the Gemara makes it clear that it's only tshuva mi'ava that transforms sins into merits. Mashenki mitshuva me'ira. B'doichek uli yeshleima, there's a strong. B'doichek uli yeshleima. Shakavana shom, he b'tshuva me'ira sa'inas. But the Gemara says that the low level of fear won't do it. It means fear of punishment. In such a tshuva, there's not even iskafia. But the Rebbe still retains, he's holding his ground. That every level of tshuva causes, this is based on the Rambam, but doesn't mention which level. It means a blanket. The union of tshuva, that it causes the union of what? Yisapche. And he said before the ha'ara and the star, because of the viskafia krepshin is yitzray. And adrabah, the one who struggles with yitzhara is a bigger yiskafia. So it's even bigger than the tshuva mi'av, the basic tshuva, the one that's struggling tshuva.
Doesn't Tanya also mention that? That is done not Rabbi Eliezer ben Dordaya?
It's only mi'av, tshuva mi'av. It makes it clear there.
Right.
Only tshuva mi'av. Ava Rabbi says.
So it's not any level according to Tanya.
No. But the Rebbe is he's forcing it in Tanya, forcing it in the Rambam, forcing it in the Gemara. The Gemara is the hardest to do it because the Gemara is very clear. It says not tshuva meira. Then it says a very low level of tshuva. That's what the Gemara is speaking about, not anything above that.